हमें अपने मन को हमेशा संतुलित रखना है। इसी में हमारा आत्म विकास समाया हुआ है। वही में सर्वम ओम ओम ओम। आत्मनि में त्वम ओम ओम ओम। स्मारे स्मारे ओम ओम ओम। चित्तं शामय शामय ओम। स्मराणि सोऽहं ॐ ॐ ॐ। शान्तं चिन्मयम् ॐ माम् ॐ। तटस्थं केवलम् ॐ ॐ ॐ। स्मराणि शुद्धम् ॐ माम् ॐ। Okay. So today we go to Sutra 33rd of Vibhuti path. Again, very small sutra. It reads, Praatibhadva Sarvam. Praatibhadva Sarvam. या फिर प्रतिभा से सब कुछ जाना जा सकता है। सिंपल ट्रांसलेशन, या फिर प्रतिभा से सब कुछ जाना जा सकता है। इंग्लिश ट्रांसलेशन अगर देखेंगे तो एवरीथिंग कैन बी नोन फ्रॉम इंट्यूशन। So Pratibha here has been translated as intuition. So again a very simple sutra, but very important from the point of view of development of yogi's mind and his spiritual upliftment, his spiritual growth. To indicate that growth, this sutra is very important. So what is meant by Pratibha and what is meant by Sarvam? A very beautiful example they have given. It's like the knowledge which is gained in this pratibha, it may not be very specific and very specialized, but it may be of a general kind of knowledge about everything possible. So whatever is there in front of yogi, he will know that merely by intuition. He doesn't have to put any effort. Now you see, as far as we are concerned, most of us, we believe in only one kind of knowledge. And the science has already always emphasized on this, that our senses are the sources through which we come to know the external world, which is true, but then that is partly true, because since ancient times the saints and sages, they have believed that there are ways where one can have direct intuitive knowledge about things, and which later on scientists also really accept. But then the limitation is there. Something like intuitive knowledge is difficult to prove. So it is not really, kind of uh, easily acceptable to the scientists, because they are always talking about the rationality, and they believe that knowledge can be gathered only through the five senses, and that is what we believe. But then there are instances in life where we are surprised that although we did not use our senses, but still we got some kind of understanding about situation, about the events happening around us, around about the people around us. So that really puts us into a question that from where this knowledge must have come, because that knowledge is not coming from the really usual sources. So this pratibha is intuitive knowledge, and very few individuals are born with it. Normally, we ordinarily, as we are living our life, as infants, we may have this kind of intuitive ability, but thinking all the time in logical manner, all the time being concerned with the worldly affairs, about the material thinking, about the concerns of our safety, about the concerns of our uh, interest, we go on restricting this ability, and gradually we come to level that we are totally dependent on the knowledge which we acquire through the senses. As against that, now this sutra is talking about the cumulative effect of all the yoga practices. See, here they have not used the word sanyama, and this word which is there, pratibhadva, pratibhadva, this va word, it means or else, as an alternative, it is being talked about. So till this time, sanyama was being talked about. By doing sanyama this, you will get this knowledge. By doing sanyama on that, you will get other kind of knowledge. But here they are not talking about sanyama. Here they are giving as an alternative the pratibha. So pratibha is a quality which is developed in the course of practice of yoga. So here we are assured that when a person is practicing yoga continuously, gradually his ability for pratibha will increase, and one day he will develop this pratibha. This is what is suggested. So pratibha is the outcome of all the yoga practices done over a period of time. When sincerely one is practicing yoga, then he develops an intuitive ability, intuitive understanding of things. He doesn't have to really put great effort in knowing things, as if the knowledge comes to him automatically. Then that when such a stage comes, that is known as pratibha has come. But then this pratibha is seen normally in highly evolved people who are born with certain qualities. So this is a quality of saints, sages, and mystics. Mystics have this quality of pratibha. So mystical knowledge, as they call it. So all the mystics have one common trait, and that common trait is that they will have this ability to intuitively, because that is what makes them mystic. Like when certain miracles are performed, if the mystics are asked, how did it happen? They say that we do not know how it happened, but they know that this kind of things are possible, and in their presence, definitely, because logically they cannot explain what it is. So as I was reading this sutra, I was reminded of the work we had done on Encyclopedia Volume 4, which is published by the Yoga Institute, related to mysticism. So in this mysticism encyclopedia, you will find lots of information related to saints and sages and mystics, and what is their life about, what are the nature of their experiences, what is their ability in acquiring knowledge. All those aspects are covered under this Encyclopedia Volume 4. So now these mystics, you will find they have this intuitive ability. They don't have to put any effort. Knowledge as if comes to them. That is why they are called mystics. Sent and now mystic is a Western word, and you will also find the meaning, how the meaning has been derived from the original concepts. But when we look at the equivalent in Indian thinking, the sadhu is there, the saint is there. जो साधु संत होते हैं उनको भी मिस्टिक कहते हैं. So the kind of mystics, they have the sattvic buddhi. So one of the characteristics of mystic is that they have got very simple mind. They are, see, one principle we have to understand. The more we are calculative, the more we are worried, the more we are anxious, the more we are concerned about safety, the more we are concerned about selfish interest, the less knowledge we can acquire. Because that will restrict the ability to acquire knowledge. As against that, if a very simple person is there who just trusts and who has this faith, for him it is easy to acquire knowledge, intuitive knowledge about things. So these saints and sages, they have got very simple mind. They are not calculative, and because of that, their trust is there, their faith is there. It's like, the small child, where a doctor used to tell us about a story when it happened that so many years the rain was not coming, and the villagers were worried. And then some wise men advised the villagers that if you do a particular yajna, then the rain will come. So they, on the appointed day, all the villagers are going outside the village in the temple where the yajna was to be conducted. So in one family, mother and father are leaving for the yajna, and small child with them. As they go out of the house, suddenly stops them. He says, "Wait, wait, wait." He goes inside and brings umbrella. And they parents ask, "Why you brought umbrella?" He said, "We are going to do yajna and for the rains, and when the rain comes, we will need it." This is the kind of faith mystic has. No elder could have thought about such a kind of thing, but a child with his simplicity, he knew that if they are if he for him it was a fact. Do yajna, the rain will come, and when the rain will come, they will require umbrella. So beforehand, he is prepared for that. So that kind of faith mystics have. We cannot appreciate this. We cannot really understand this. The problem is that most of the time when we are in calculative mode, we fail to see the simplicity of the person. You will be surprised. Today something very interesting happened. I saw one guy, talking to monkeys. And then as I was passing, as I was entering, so he started talking to me. He said, "See, I am telling these monkeys that if you want water, come drink, but don't bother others. And then if you want to eat, but then don't bother. You are creating nuisance for others. Don't do that." So he was trying to convince monkeys. Now this may appear very strange, but the kind of conviction he had on in his voice, it was really surprising. It is something we can't, we may just, a bystander, a person who's looking at it or hearing it, he will just laugh at what this person is trying to do, as if monkeys are going to listen to him. But then that is the thing, he's talking to them. He's protecting everybody from monkeys. At the same time, he's also concerned about the monkeys, and he wants to provide food to them. He wants to provide water to them. So this is the simplicity which really yoga believes in. And ultimately, when yoga is being practiced, see what will happen. Very simple thing can happen, that as we are practicing and yamas and niyamas, we are shedding out all our anxieties, we are shedding out all our selfishness, we are shedding out all our restricting factors in our personality. And if person is sincerely practicing yamas and niyama, he will become like a child. He will become very simple, and his mind will be full of faith. His mind will be full of strength. Now that is the kind of quality, because this mysticism idea is very important, and this will be again coming in further sutras. In Sutra 35 also, this we are doing 33. So 35 also talking about this mystical ideas, and mysticism will be again touched there. But briefly, I am just telling you about the background. So now, what is this Pratibha Jnana? Here, the Pratibha Jnana has been very beautifully explained. When the night is there, the dullness is there, the total darkness is there, we can't see a thing. But then we know that sun is going to rise. So what happens? We are waiting for the sun to rise. There's total darkness. And then suddenly we find that slowly the light is coming. The sun has not yet risen, but the morning light has started, जिसको हम लोग उषा बोलते हैं, प्रातः काल जिसको बोलते हैं, the dawn, the arrival of the dawn. And how do we experience the arrival of the dawn? Everything around us becomes slightly visible. It's not clearly visible. It might be hazy. There might be even what is known as the fog, which is not allowing us to see things very clearly. But we can make out the outlines. We can make out what all things are there which are around us. That is the effect of dawn on our mind, and that is how we perceive the world at the time of dawn. And gradually, if we persist, if we keep looking, if we keep observing, then the sun will rise, and then everything will become very, very clear. And everything, whichever thing we want to see, will become visible to us. We will be able to see it. So this pratibha is like, it has been, this pratibha which is being talked about here is like the pratibha of dawn. And there is a pratibha of sunrise also, which will be coming subsequently. So here, as if the beginning has taken place, a new thing has started in the case of yogi. So they have started understanding everything. Now, this is also necessary because at certain point of time, some amount of faith is needed, some amount of certainty is needed. So what does this Pratibha Gyan does? It brings about a certainty in the mind of yogi. One of the role of all the miracles, all the unusual happenings, and one cannot escape. If one is sincerely practicing yoga, then in smaller or big way, some kind of unusual power will be manifested. Yogi will acquire certain abilities. It could be even the ability to generate faith. You may suddenly find that people have started believing you. People are having trust in you. People are relying on you. It could be such a simple thing as that. It could be also in the form of maybe your words carrying some weight, maybe people listening to you very seriously. Now all these are indications of some kind of strength, some kind of power, some kind of capacity which is being developed. But this will not come automatically. This will come from the practice of yoga, practice of all the. So now you see, one may say that when we are talking about the mystics have these qualities. Guru Nanak ji is there, Tukaram is there, Jnaneshwar is there, Mirabai is there. So many mystics in India. Eknath, because Raman Maharshi was there, Ramakrishna Paramhans was there. Now you see Ramakrishna Paramhans, miraculous things were there. Like us, Vivekananda was full of doubts, very calculative mind, highly intellectual, highly educated, and belonging to a very rich family, a very good family, cultured family, full of confidence and full of doubts in mind. Now, such a person, he cannot believe a simpleton like Ramakrishna Paramhans. So he was full of doubts all the time. And when he went to him, he was full of doubts. And he went to him to challenge him, to kind of test him. He did not go to him with faith. He went to him with lot of doubts in the mind, and challenge dekhenge. Sometimes we also do, so we hear of somebody and we say, okay, let's go and see, let's test, let's see what is happening. So we are not going out of faith, or we are not going out of the faith that it might be true. We are challenging it, we are questioning it. So when he goes there, now this simple village person who is not educated in the any formal way, and belonging to a very simple priest family, and when this Vivekanand goes to him, merely by a simple touch, the entire life of Vivekanand gets transformed. Now this is the mystic power of Ramakrishna Paramhans. So and when we talk about simplicity of heart, all the disciples of Ramakrishna Paramhans, they will vouch for it, that he was a very simple hearted person, straightforward person. So they have this kind of ability. Raman Maharshi, for example, Dr. Jaydev often used to talk about Raman Maharshi. He used to give this example that some great experts of physics, some scientists, scientists and thinkers and experts on physics, they visited Raman Maharshi, and they were discussing about certain fundamental questions and challenges which were being faced by science at that time. So whatever the concerns of these scientists or some difficult concepts of physics they had in mind, and they started discussing about it with Raman Maharshi. And to their surprise, now again Raman Maharshi was a very simple person, but his pratibha was such that whatever they were discussing, he was understanding it and he was responding to them with the correct answers, which is surprising. Now, to arrive at those concepts, these scientists had to study a great deal in a formal way. They had logical minds. They had very keen, sharp minds. Their IQ must have been great. That's why they became such famous scientists. Now, such scientists are discussing certain things with Raman Maharshi, and Raman Maharshi is able to easily answer them. This is the surprising thing. And this is what happens, that, simple people, but then intuitive knowledge. So one can ask them from where they were deriving this knowledge. How could they understand so much of science? Because they have not studied science formally. They don't know anything about physics. So how can they talk about? But they did talk about it, and it makes perfect sense to scientists. So this is the quality which is can be termed as a pratibha, and this pratibha will arise slowly. Now what happens? So far, people like us, we believe that okay, you are talking about mystics, but how many mystics are there in the world? They are only chosen few, right? Because we know Saint Francis of Assisi, so many mystics were there. Saint John, various mystics. Then in Islam, we find so many mystics. Hazrat Inayat Hussain was there. Then the one who was persecuted. So many mystics we hear about in Sufi orders also. Now these Sufis, but then again, so many are there, but they can be counted on fingers. They are limited in numbers. How many Sufis are there? How many saints are there? Even if we talk of Indian saints, we will be able to take few names. We talk of Christian mystics, very few are there. So when we look at these mystics and their extraordinary qualities, we find that okay, they might be exception. That is what we normally believe, because we don't have that kind of ability. We don't have that kind of faith which will sustain us in crisis. Our faiths are so weak that small crisis comes and we are shaken up. We cry, we complain, we pray to God to save us. That is what we do. And as against that, they face big calamities. Guru Tegh Bahadur, Guru Gobind Singh, Guru Nanak, these people have gone through what difficulties. We cannot even imagine that. But still they could persist. And they had that kind of faith, they had that kind of courage. So from where that courage is coming? So we think that they are exceptional people and we cannot do that. That is one thing. But again, we have to understand that human race has been studying this phenomena of mysticism, this unusual powers, and has been trying to perfect some ways by which something can be achieved even by the ordinary individual. So now there is a clear understanding that that's why I said that if you read this encyclopedia volume 4 of Yoga Institute, all these aspects will become clear. How to inculcate this kind of intuition, whether we as an ordinary individual are able to achieve something of what is known as intuition. So you will find that even in mysticism streams, the classical mystical streams, also there are methods which are adopted. So for example, in Indian thinking, you'll find that people congregate together and they do bhajans, kirtans, or they do chanting. Now this is one way of, and you'll find I belong to a place called Sindh. So in Sindh, the Sindh is known as place of Sufis. Entire Sindh, every 2 miles, you'll find some kind of a kind of worshipping place for Sufis. They have got Sufi temperament. So lots of Sufis are there. And these Sufis are of those kind which are which are similar to the ancient rishis. They are very open-minded and great saints are there among them. So they follow a certain method. And what is that method? Chanting the name of God. Chanting the name of God again and again, singing the name of God, bhajan, kirtan. So singing and all the, and every day doing it regularly, and gradually they say that this is the method which is adopted by Sufis. So there are certain Sufis which are born, but people who are following these Sufis and they start following the method they have developed, method they have recommended, then these persons who are doing that, they also gradually start developing the abilities of the Sufis. So this is what is suggested. Now look at yoga. Yoga is interested in what? Yoga is not interested in ordinary things. Yoga is interested in knowing the ultimate truth, knowing the one's own self. And for that, yoga has to shade all that which is limiting and restricting that knowledge. If we go according to worldly things where we are all the time concerned about our own concerns, we are selfish, then we remain at that level. Not much can be gained by way of understanding and knowledge and some kind of spiritual upliftment. Not much happens. But then if we pay attention to this area, then definitely you will find that changes are taking place. So when we were working on encyclopedia, I remembered I had written few things about the editorial also and the introduction. So I'll just read it to you just to convey the idea. Uh, then I'll come to just telling you that how important this desire for higher experience, desire for knowing oneself, desire for self-understanding, how important it is, even in terms of science, even in terms of psychology. It is very important. But before that, I'll just read this. The seers of human race have always recognized that there exists a strong spiritual impulse in everyone. However, only in a few this impulse inherently on its own arises to its full expression and leads into life transforming experiences. These exceptionally few have been named as mystics. In a vast majority, this impulse remains subdued and clouded by the concerns of world of name and form. So even the ordinary people have this spiritual impulse, but it remains subdued because of the worldly concerns. ये जो नाम रूप का जगत है, ये नाम रूप का जग है, इसमें उलझे होने की वजह से ये जो स्पिरिचुअल इम्पल्स है वो दबी रह जाती है, वो उजागर नहीं होती है, ऊपर नहीं आती है. But in case of mystics, because they are practicing nearness to God, because they are thinking of God all the time, they can overcome all this and their impulse of spirituality manifests and starts becoming stronger and stronger till they are really submerged with it and overpowered with it. So yoga holds that every person is capable of having these profound life transforming experiences. Just understand this. This is very important. We all, without exception, we all are capable of having these life transforming experiences which our saints and sages have, which our mystics have. Why we are not having? That is the question. Yoga provides a clear and correct understanding of the spiritual impulse. A detailed, elaborate technology is available to hold on to it and strengthen it to the extent the life transforming experience is the high ground where the mysticism and yoga meet each other. They come together. So mystics have high life transforming experiences, and yoga can also, if it is done correctly, not only the asanas as or the hatha yoga as nowadays yoga is being practiced, but yoga in its pure spirit, true spirit, if it is practiced, then one ordinary individual can also have the life transforming experience of all great saints and sages. That is the contention. So now you see, you'll be surprised. We normally study psychology, and you must have read about Sigmund Freud. Now, Sigmund Freud was the person who emphasized a lot on the body. He talked a lot about the physical impulses. He paid a lot of attention to the libido, the destructive forces in human personality. So his entire psychology was based on that. But then we also have a contemporary of Sigmund Freud, Carl Gustav Jung. When we talk about Jung, Jung differed totally with the Freud. In the lifetime only, first they became great friends. They spent a lot of time together. They studied together. And then they had difference of opinion, had clashes, separated, and Carl Gustav Jung, he developed his own psychology, his own method, and in his method of psychology, spiritual impulse was the most important. And in one major area in which he differed with Sigmund Freud was Sigmund Freud talked about libido and the sexual urges and the biological drives and the destructive forces. Carl Gustav Jung said there is equally strong impulse which is spiritual impulse. So if we listen to Carl Gustav Jung, and not only Carl Gustav Jung, like even in the Abraham Maslow, the great psychologist, even if we listen to or if we accept the theory of Abraham Maslow, then we as human beings are not really merely animals as the Freud would like us to believe. Because if we believe that we are only having destructive forces in us, we only have biological drives, then we remain at the animal level, which is again true. We have an aspect of animality. We are partly animals. We are similar to the animals, but that is one part of it. That doesn't complete the whole picture. We have biological drives, we have the physical impulses, but that is only one part of it. So Carl Gustav Jung said that we also equally have strong spiritual impulse. So this spiritual impulse has to be recognized. It has to be, and then unfortunately, what happens is we are fortunate that we have taken to the path of yoga. A person who's not exposed to these ideas, or he's not having the good fortune of being exposed to some spiritual impulse, some spiritual direction, then his life is really materialistic. And then what is the animal part of the human personality will go on becoming strong. But luckily, if he's exposed to the spiritual impulse, then he has opportunity to grow in that. And then he will find the animal nature is becoming subdued. And the spiritual nature, spiritual impulse is finding expression. And gradually, so we are a mixture of, our personality is very rich. It has got, for animal existence, it is necessary because survival is based on that. But apart from survival, there are many things which are related to the spiritual development, the altruistic life. And we know that there are people who are genuinely altruistic. Those the mystics have suggested that, mystics have proved that, great yogis have proved that. So now yoga says that, yoga recognizes that spiritual impulse and it is asking us to develop in that direction. And ultimately, you find yoga is talking about ultimate aim of yoga is to be able to reach the spiritual essence each one of us has. That is the ultimate aim of yoga. So the spiritual impulse has to grow, it has to find the right expression. It will have to grow in experiences. इसीलिए योगियों को अच्छे अनुभव होते हैं. And they are always joyful, always cheerful, always happy. They don't have anything in terms of money. You'll see, some of the saints you will see, they don't have anything, but they are all the time in a very joyful, in a very happy, tranquil and peaceful. And it is kind of very, what is known as contagious. Their minds are so strong, their joy is so strong that it touches you, it affects you. And we also feel the same amount of peace which they are experiencing. We just like to be around such people. We just like to be around them. Why? Because while we are around them, we are full of peace, tranquility. So this is the effect they have. So now, lots of details are there. I told you about Sigmund Freud. I told you about this Carl Gustav Jung. Carl Gustav Jung is worth listening to because, and he has really talked about how we are, and his method, in a way, we can see that he says you have to, his method is, in technical language, is called, you have to meet your shadow self. If you want to really grow, you have to meet your shadow and you have to overcome your shadow. Shadow is the darker side. Now, in yoga, what is that darker side? All that which is against yamas and niyamas is the darker side we have. And that is what Carl Gustav Jung is talking about. Every impulse we have which is against ahimsa, which is against Satya, that is falsehood, which is against indulgences, weaknesses. All those impulses are the darker side we have. And if you really think about it, all the problems we are facing in our life, they are coming from this darker side. That darker side. So Carl Gustav Jung says, unless you have faced them, unless you have overcome them, you cannot expect to go to a level where you will experience the truth and power. It is not possible. So you see what he called shadow in psychology. Same is known in Sufi language. It is called nafs. Nafs. In Vedanta, it will be called shadaripu. In yoga, it will be called kleshas. See, kleshas are what? Kleshas are coming from all the drives which are opposite to yamas and niyamas. So whatever is against ahimsa, why do we indulge in violence? Why we live by untruth and falsehood? Why do we indulge? Why do we become weak? So all these, all those factors which are in our personality, which pull us down, they are controlled, they are faced, they are controlled, they are transcended with the help of yamas. And once the transcendence takes place, what happens is that necessary purity for the pratibha to arise is attained. That is how yoga works. Essentially, it is a purification process. And mystics have that purity which is inherent. Saints have that purity inherent. That simplicity is there. But we don't have, but we can develop it if we are really at it, if we want it. Yoga provides that method. So here now Sanyama is being done, Yamas, Niyamas have been followed. Already Yogi has attained Sampragnata Samadhi. So he's already in a very pure state of mind. So it is but natural that Pratibha will arise. And then with that Pratibha, he has to turn his mind. It's like special ability. He has to just look at things and things will be available to him, or knowledge about those things will be available to him. So like the mystics, today's talk is also mystic. But we have to think about it. We will again come maybe when we are talking again about mysticism, we will maybe read some passages from this volume 4. If there are questions.
ये जो बोलते हैं एक गट फीलिंग या दैट इनर वॉइस जो अपने को कई बार गाइड करती है कि ये करो ये मत करो, ये तुम्हारे लिए अच्छा नहीं है, तो वो भी इंट्यूशन है या वो कुछ और है?
It's a intuition, but it is, and everybody has it, but it is really very diluted form. Only in critical circumstances it will arise, it will come. But then you will find most of the people are not listening to gut feeling. They go against the gut feeling, and normally there is a suffering because of that. But body has a mechanism to tell us what is the right thing to do. But we have lost that ability to listen to it. Even at the animal level, even at the physical level, some animals might be more intuitive than us. Their gut feelings might be much better than us because we have dulled it, we have killed it. That sharpness is not there.
An animal will never overeat, but we people overeat.
So our gut is telling us don't eat, but we eat. We persist. And then the damage comes. Then body becomes very dull. Mind also becomes dull as a result. And it will be seen in so many things. So many things. But there is a hope for all of us. This sutra is telling us that we all are capable of this. We have equal portion of animality and equal portion of spirituality. Only thing is, like that story, the grandfather is telling to his grandson. So as they are discussing So grandfather is telling the grandson that there are two wolves inside you. They are fighting with each other. And whatever experience the young boy has got, he is asking questions to his grandfather, and he asks him, I feel that these two wolves are fighting with each other. There's a conflict in my mind all the time. So which one do you think will win? So grandfather tells him, the one you will feed more will win. So we have wolves in our body and mind. Which one we are feeding will be strengthened. So if we are strengthening the right one, the spiritual one, that will gain strength. If we are feeding the animal one, all the time thinking of materiality, all the time thinking about profits, concerns, then that will be becoming strong. So we find that that is what is happening. People who are exposed by chance, by luck, by good karmas, if they are exposed to right kind of thinking right at the childhood, their life blossoms. They go in the right direction, they enjoy, they have better experiences of life, not in terms of money, baby, not in terms of material power, but in terms of satisfying life, in terms of peace, tranquility, happiness. They do enjoy that. We know that, we experience that.
So you mentioned children and how children are purer and simpler. I mean, in a way, then we all start out on the right path, but somewhere we get corrupted, right?
Yes, yes, we do
Can
get
we?
corrupted. We do get corrupted. We do
Yeah.
get corrupted because the kind of intuition child has, the kind of trust he has. You see, the past karmas are there, the influence of past karmas are there. So child will be having ego, child will be having his selfishness, he will have his raga, he will have his dvesha. Few 1 year child, 2 years child showing tantrums, showing anger, all will be there. But when you look at their mental makeup, it is still simple. As we grow up, we become, you read the Little Prince. French writer has written a very small work. The book's name is The Little Prince. So that is what he has tried to convey. The children, we are losing that innocence. We are losing that childlikeness, that trust, or that ability to know. So we are paying a very heavy price for securing our adulthood. So somewhere we think that it is, and partly it is necessary also, because we have to come to a level and grow to a level where we understand ourselves, and then we become aware that actually what is happening to us, and then maybe then we can take some informed decision. So maybe it is part of the growing up.
Because I feel, in my yoga journey, I feel I'm going full circle because I have strong memories from being fully concentrated as a child to a
Yeah,
point where, I felt my limbs differently and all that, and in meditative practices that I'm doing now, I'm coming back to that. So I'm being reminded of that. So I feel, all this, what is happening in the middle, I mean, you shed some light on that. We need to acquire some knowledge. But ultimately, I feel as children, it was all there. But I
yeah,
guess, yeah, we weren't able to put it into words. Yes.
very true.
Namaste, sir.
Yes, yes.
Ji, namaste, sir. You mentioned Shadavipu, right? So just I want to get the spelling. It's Shad means the six.
Six, yeah, six enemies.
Vipu. Okay. And Nafsa in Sufi. Nafsa.
NAFSA. And the NAFSA. Nafs.
Okay. Nafs. Nafs. And two questions. First question, you mentioned this very interesting to me. When you mentioned mysticism, you put classical mysticism. You didn't just say mysticism, you said classical mysticism. So
Yeah.
I just wanted you to say a little bit on this. Why classical? And the
Classical
second is maybe if you want to share some experience with Dr. Jaydev.
Classical means, the belief was there in general public that mystics are born. And we cannot have those kind of experiences which mystics have. This is the classical mystical thinking, that they are born, they are chosen by God. It is like saying that, so when one saint is bestowed with the grace of God, we say that he was chosen one. God selected him.
Yes.
But then you see, when we say God selected him, is the God playing favorites?
No.
God cannot play favorite. He has to be just. He has to be equal. So there has to be something for us also.
Yes. Yes.
So why
That's
that
how.
is not available to us? Because we are not purified enough. We are not worked on ourselves. We only are restricting that. So it is not, grace is equally available to everybody. The recipient has to prepare himself to receive God. We are not prepared ourselves.
So then classical mysticism is the right word, or we should just
Yeah,
put.
it just came. So as I understood, I explained to you.
Yeah, it sounded very rich when you said classical mysticism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that is general understanding that only selected few are chosen one by chosen. But then when you look at the uh, this is a thinking which is developing, that Ramakrishna Paramhans, these were Mirabai, Tukaram, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Guru Nanak. These are the mistakes. They were born. Kabir, Tulsidas, they were born. But then what about the ordinary individuals? So that will be classical thing that they were born with, and nobody else can reach there. Even in Sufis, you'll find two kinds of Sufis are there. One who believes that through the methods followed by them, they can acquire some godly experience. They can attain some proximity of that experience about God. Just to differentiate that, nothing else.
Right, right. And if you want to share something maybe related to Dr. Jay, it would be nice to related to mysticism, something.
Related to mysticism, Doctor was a mystic. Doctor was his intuitive understanding. I have shared earlier also when we started talking about the Siddhis. I had shared an incident about one additional commissioner in my department, whom I had taken to the Yoga Institute, and what he had shared about Dr. Jaydev. He said that something doctor talked about that additional commissioner had some problems, so he went to consult. And every Saturday we have Samatvam class at Yoga Institute. So some 60, 70, 80 people will come, but difficult cases will be taken to Dr. Jaydev also. So when this additional commissioner came, I requested that time Sharad and Priyam, they were looking after the Samatvam activity. I told them, this is my additional commissioner and I want him to see Dr. Jaydev because he has some issues. So this additional commissioner went and met him. And then after 2 days, he shared with me. He said, Dr. Jaydev told me about something which nobody else knows except me. In the entire world, nobody knows about it. Only I knew about it. But then Dr. Jaydev talked to me about it. He knew my problem. So how did Dr. Jaydev come to know about his problem? Without speaking. And this is one instance. And there are several instances, In classroom, we are sitting and suddenly a question pops up in mind. And before even question getting formed properly, doctor would answer that question. Several times it has happened. We have some pertinent question, then also the question arising in the class, that also. We have gone with some idea in the mind that we are going to ask this. Before asking, he will talk about it.
Niranjan, somehow I feel that when you say chosen few by God, I don't think anything in this world is free. It is their past karmas which has.
Yeah, one can look at it that way. Yes,
Dr. Jaydev or a Kabir or a Ramakrishna. It is their past karmas. Koi bhi, except old age, I think nothing is free. Old age is free. Everyone gets it free.
No, young age is also free. Child is also free. You did not pay for it.
For the, yes, you have to work and it carries over.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that is one way of looking at it, that because of the past karmas, they are born as, like in case of, we have seen that is also being explained, Sutra 18 of chapter 1, Bhava Pratyayo Videha Prakriti Layanam. So these, Tukaram, Jnaneshwar, Guru Nanak Ji, they can be termed as Bhava Pratyaya, old yogis, who are born, and they attain that closeness to God, experience God.
So there is a name for these people who come back on the earth just to help us. In Yoga Sutra, I think there,
No, Prakriti Layas are there.
yeah,
Videhas
there is,
and Prakriti Layas.
yeah,
They
what
come,
is that? From V?
Videhas,
Videhas.
Videhas,
Okay.
bodiless. Videha means bodiless. And Prakriti Linas, Prakriti Laya, those who are merged in Prakriti. They come back. They come back to help the humanity. Then Buddha is also there.
Mhm.
See, Buddha must have done those kind of karmas. That's why he could become Buddha in one life. Mahavir, for example. These are all examples. Anyway, we leave it here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.